Hey there, it's me, Pearl. Welcome to my diet journey from a biblical perspective, and I'm here to share part two. It is called, Is There a Difference Between Meats? In fact, there is. And the thing I wanted to start off was actually all the way back in Genesis, the difference between God's ultimate will and his permissive will. I believe that from the beginning in Eden, God had a perfect environment that he wanted Adam and Eve to thrive on, which was more of a fruitarian diet, vegan, as you will, or plant-based, is another term for you could use as well, because it's all strictly plants. And then you've got the permissive will, where after the flood we saw a consumption of meat in Scripture, and there was a distinguished clean and unclean laws that were put into place. We see this in Genesis chapter 7 verse 2, where Noah is told, of every clean beast thou shalt take of thee by sevens, not two. So all the clean beasts, there were 7 pairs of these animals, and then of the beasts that are not clean, by 2, male and his female. And so you see a string of 7 that are clean, and then just the 2 of the unclean animals. Because after the flood, the clean animals were the ones that they were to eat and to sacrifice. So that made a huge difference. And then when you look at Leviticus chapter 11, you see basically a breakdown of each category in the chain of food that is considered clean and unclean. So all of these categories had a specific description of what made them clean and unclean. So I guess we'll start off with the land animals, as we could think of them. So it says, whosoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. And this is found in Leviticus 11:3. And so it says rabbits are unclean because it doesn't part the hooves, but it does chew the cud, meaning that it eats grass, it'll eat vegetation. Camels are unclean because it doesn't have a divided hoof. And then you've got pigs are considered unclean because they don't eat grass, but they have a parted hoof. So it has to have both for it to be considered clean. Then you've got the fishes. Okay, so these, I guess, water animals. This says in Leviticus 11:9, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the water, and the seas and the rivers, them shall ye eat. So 2 requirements: has to have fins and scales. That's it. So that means eels, sharks, crabs, lobsters, catfish are all considered unclean, and anything else that don't have fins and scales are unclean. And then you go into the birds, and it says that it actually lists them of what they are. Like for example, in Leviticus 11:13-19, it tells us that the eagles, the vultures, the ospreys, the swan, the pelicans, the owls, the bats, the hawks are all unclean. It actually names them, but it tells you what are considered clean. So like quail is considered clean. Chicken obviously is considered clean. In Leviticus 11:21, it tells us about creeping things, right? Which is odd criteria, but bugs. It says, every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all 4 have legs above their feet to leap withal upon the earth. So anything with 4 feet or more and don't meet this are considered unclean, like larvae, spiders, scorpions, and silkworms would be considered unclean. So this was actually very interesting to me, because I did not even realize that creeping things or bugs, certain bugs, were considered okay. So locusts were okay. Grasshoppers, I'm guessing, would be considered okay to eat as a part of your plant, but I would not consider that as an option. So let's look at the science. Dr. David Match, a pharmacologist from Johns Hopkins University in 1953, published over 900 scientific studies in his lifetime on one of his research papers called An Experimental Pharmacological Appreciation of Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. He did 3 experiments covering this the same categories that we saw: four-footed animals, birds, and fish. These are his findings. He found that of the meat of the four-legged animals, like ox, calf, sheep, goat, and deer, were all practically non-toxic to our bodies, but pig, hare, coney, camels were all high in toxins. Then the bird category: chicken, duck, goose, turkey, and pigeon, and quail meat were all non-toxic, but birds of prey, such as owl, hawk, falcon, were all toxic. And then you look at the fish category: anything without scales and fins, such as shark, catfish, stingray, eel, were all toxic, while fish with scales and fins were not toxic. Those were his findings, and it was really interesting to hear from his perspective. But one of the big things I also noticed from all the unclean animals that have been put into scripture, these were all basically garbage cleaners for their category. So when you look at the four-legged animal, like the pig, it is a garbage cleaner. It eats everything and anything. It will clean up all the mess. And then you look at vultures for the bird category. They clean up all the dead carcasses. They'll eat it. And then you've got the fish. Catfish is a good example. It's a bottom dweller. It will clean up everything. All that junk that falls to the ground, to the bottom of the ocean, that's or river, basically river. They'll clean everything. So you get my point. The thing is, these animals, crustaceans included, like lobster and stuff, they clean the bottom of the ocean, and they basically are all garbage cleaners for their category. And so the next question that I've had is eating meat a sin? And we're going to tap into that in our next video. So if you're curious about, well, so we've got clean and unclean laws, but does that make it sinful to eat meat? And I know that from the activist perspective, of course, they would say to get rid of meat completely, all in all, there's no need for it. But as a personal trainer and also a plant-based enthusiast, I would say that there is argumentation for that from a biblical narrative, and I just wanted to be able to share it with you in case you've struggled in your own, walk as a Christian who want to abide by a lifestyle that is directed in Scripture. So I hope to see you on the next video. Is eating meat a sin? And I hope that this kind of gives you this video helped give you at least a better understanding of the clean and unclean laws. All right, well, you guys have a wonderful day. May you live, thrive, and be healthy. Take care, guys. Bye.